The incident surrounding the alleged UFO crash in Roswell is more than just a story. It is a mystery that continues to captivate researchers, skeptics, and dreamers alike to this day.
Lost places. Remote viewing. Research. Expeditions. Paranormal. Supported by Into the Matrix. Remote viewing. The TrueWomen Show.
In the summer of 1947, something happened in the desert of New Mexico that remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of modern history. What began as an inconspicuous discovery on a remote ranch developed into a chain of events that triggered a wave of speculation and decades of debate. From a small town, news of a mysterious crash spread before it was suddenly swept under the rug by official authorities. Reports, questions, and contradictions marked the following days, turning Roswell, New Mexico, into a global symbol of secrecy and cover-ups. Today, Roswell is home to the International UFO Museum and Research Center, dedicated to investigating and preserving this fascinating story. Timo Féret, remote viewer and owner of Into the Matrix, traveled to New Mexico for the TrueWomen show, where he visited this museum, among other places, to gather information and revisit the events of that time.
You've probably all heard about the legendary UFO crash in Roswell, New Mexico. There are countless stories surrounding that incident, which is reason enough for me to dig deeper and to investigate. Right now, I'm about 50 miles east of Roswell, hoping to uncover solid information about the event at the International UFO Museum and Research Center. That's exactly where I'm headed, and I'll take you along with me.
Timo found that out. In the summer of 1947, amidst a raging thunderstorm, events began to unfold over the desert near Roswell that are still considered the most famous UFO incident in history to this day. Eyewitness accounts from firefighters, ranchers, archaeologists, military personnel, and civilians converge into a mysterious story. William Mack Brazel, foreman of the Foster Ranch, discovered a massive debris field full of inexplicable materials. Dan Dwyer saw strange beings, including a frightened living one. Barney Barnett and a team of archaeologists observed the remains of a crashed object before being silenced by the military. Major Jesse Marcel personally examined the debris and even showed it to his family. At the same time, the Roswell Fire Department was called to a fire, where eerie discoveries were also made. These events led to an intense military recovery, massive intimidation of witnesses, and a cover-up orchestrated at the highest levels, which continues to captivate public awareness to this day. But let's start from the very beginning. It was a moonless night in the summer of 1947 when a thunderstorm began to brew over Roswell. Lightning flashed across the sky, and thunder rumbled across the vast plains of New Mexico. William Mac Brazel, foreman of the Foster Ranch, woke up to the deafening crash of a strike. Later, he described how, the next morning, he found a massive debris field, larger than a football field, with unusual materials that were as light as aluminum foil and returned to their original shape after being crumpled. Some pieces bore mysterious hieroglyphs he had never seen before. This experience would change his life forever. He had no idea that this moment would change his life and that of an entire town forever. On the morning of July 3rd, Brazel saddled his horse to assess the damage from the previous night storm. Near a watering hole, he discovered a massive debris field that immediately struck him as odd. Metallic, shiny pieces were scattered across the burnt grass. Brazel picked up one of the fragments. It was incredibly light, could not be cut or burned, and returned to its original shape after every attempt to crumple it. Some parts bore mysterious hieroglyphs. Concerned about his sheep, which were too afraid to cross the field, he decided to seek help. Later, he showed the debris to his neighbors, Floyd and Loretta Proctor, who advised him to contact the military. Loretta remembered, "It was unlike anything I had ever seen, flexible but indestructible." The next day, Brazel set off to contact the sheriff in Roswell. Sheriff George Wilcox listened to Brazel's story and immediately alerted the 509th Bomb Group at Roswell Army Airfield. Major Jesse Marcel, the intelligence officer on base, was tasked with investigating the debris. After recovering the debris from the Foster Ranch, he took some pieces home and woke his wife and 11-year-old son, Jesse Jr., to show them the strange material. He laid the fragments out on the kitchen floor, dull metal pieces that were incredibly light and could not be bent, along with a piece featuring violet hieroglyph-like symbols. Marcel told his son, "This is something you'll never see again. This is a flying saucer." Years later, Jesse Jr. recalled this moment under hypnosis and drew the symbols that had haunted him ever since. That same night, he drove with Brazel to the Foster Ranch. "What I saw was like nothing I had ever experienced," Marcel later said. It was not earthly material. Meanwhile, news of the mysterious crash began to spread. Dan Dwyer, a firefighter in Roswell, was called out to a fire north of the town. There, he found the remains of a strange craft and, to his shock, small humanoid beings, one of which was still alive. It seemed lost and frightened, which deeply moved Dwyer. He later told his daughter Frankie that the being had large black eyes and no hair. Shortly after, military police appeared at the Dwyer household and threatened them. If they ever spoke about it, their entire family would be in danger. The military was quick to secure the crash site and began collecting the debris. Major Edgar Skelly, the flight operations officer on base, played a central role in the second recovery operation. This operation involved transporting bodies recovered from the crash site. Using a B-29 named Straight Flush, the bodies were secretly transported to Wright Field in Ohio. Skelly remained silent about the mission for the rest of his life, while other crew members later revealed the truth about the flight. PFC Ely Benjamin, a member of the 390th Air Service Squadron, also witnessed the mysterious recovery. he was ordered to transport stretchers with strange bodies wrapped in white sheets. When one of the sheets slipped off, he saw the face of a grey, hairless creature with a swollen head. It was alive, Benjamin later recalled with a shudder. On July 8th, Lieutenant Walter Haut issued a press release announcing that a flying disc had been recovered. But just hours later, General Roger Ramey changed the story, presenting weather balloon wreckage to the press. Major Marcel was forced to pose with the fake debris. Even though he knew it was not the truth, Frankie Dwyer, the daughter of firefighter Dan Dwyer, also became a victim of massive intimidation. Shortly after her father returned from the crash site, military police visited the Dwyer family. They threatened them with severe consequences if they ever spoke about the events. Frankie was even directly interrogated and warned that she and her family could disappear in the desert if she revealed anything. Glenn Dennis, a funeral director in Roswell, also had a disturbing encounter with the military. After being contacted by the base to ask about special airtight caskets, he brought an injured soldier to the military hospital. There, he noticed strange debris that looked like stainless steel, as well as an upset nurse who later tearfully told him about strange corpses she had seen. She even sketched these beings, including their thin, membranous fingers and oversized heads, before she was quickly reassigned. This encounter was interrupted by military police who forcefully ordered Glenn to leave the hospital and keep silent about what he had seen. Miriam Andrea Bush, the personal secretary to the hospital administrator, was also involved in the events. She accidentally entered an examination room where the bodies were stored. At first, she thought they were children, but soon realized that these creatures were anything but human. Their experiences weighed so heavily on her that she later died under mysterious circumstances. Her family suspected foul play, as many signs pointed to a cover-up. Years later, the story returned to Roswell. Lieutenant Walter Haut was a co-founder of the International UFO Museum and Research Center, which continues to investigate the incident to this day. Major Jesse Marcel reported shortly before his death that he was convinced he had seen something extraterrestrial. His son, Jesse Marcel Jr., recalled under hypnosis the night his father had woken him and his mother to show them the strange debris. The hieroglyph-like symbols on a beam left a lasting impression. Marcel Jr. later meticulously recreated these symbols decades later, which strengthened the authenticity of his memory. The truth, it seems, lies deep in the New Mexico desert and in the hearts of those who were witnesses on that fateful day. To shed light on the matter and find out what really happened in the New Mexico desert, we commissioned the remote viewers from Into the Matrix. We sent them to the supposed crash site at the time of the event in 1947. It was important to us that no assumptions were made during the process, so as not to distort the results. Since we do not know whether all the witness statements are true, we had the viewers describe the location at the specified time. The first viewer described the surroundings as barren and empty, but immediately received impressions of a hard, oval, grey object surrounded by a layer. He was puzzled because he couldn't understand that the object varied in its structure and could expand. He described how the surface changed from hard to soft and back again. As the session progressed, the viewer sensed a being that was situated at a certain height and was on a journey of exploration to gather knowledge. One statement from the viewer in this context was, "Those who climb high fall hard." The being seemed to be in distress. it appeared dissatisfied because it wasn't reaching its goal quickly enough. The reason lay in an external shock, which caused moisture to penetrate the interior of the object and something to break. To learn more about why the being was there, the viewer engaged in a conversation during the session. The following dialogue took place. The viewer: can you tell us why you're here? The being: I want to find something out. It has to do with the history of the distant past. The viewer: is there something we should know? The being: yes, but you won't understand it because the mind is too small. The viewer: tell us anyway. The being: I am stalled. I cannot express myself. Maybe another time. The second viewer initially described a process where an object moved upside down, descending. Inside, he described liquid accumulating. This led to a strong buildup of pressure, which the object could no longer withstand. There was little room for action here. The object stalled, and its movement was slowed. Inside the object, the viewer received impressions of a being that appeared feminine and wrinkled, sitting in a curved position. It was waiting, and its expression was serious as it pondered. In this session as well, the viewer started a conversation, and the following dialogue took place. The viewer: can we help you? The being: I've been waiting here forever. I'm stuck here. I can't get out. I can't move. The viewer: do you need information from us to feel better? The being: get me out of here. The viewer: are you alone? The being: I'm all alone. It's lonely. It's like being in a bad dream. The viewer: is there anything else we can do? The being: I just want to be taken out. It's too cramped here. I am trapped. Could it really be that in the summer of 1947, during a violent storm, an extraterrestrial craft was struck by lightning and damaged to the point of crashing? Could it be that the weather conditions were so sudden that a research mission failed? According to the sessions, it indeed seems to have happened that way, as both viewers described the same thing: a manned object that was moving downward due to external influences, with moisture playing a role. We hope that the being is doing well, was rescued by kind-hearted people, and was able to continue its research journey. One thing is certain: the truth is out there, and we are determined to find it. If you enjoyed our video, we would be very grateful for your support, as our work is donation-based. Feel free to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and look forward to another exciting episode of the True Women Show.
Women wake up.